to join. You're gonna say hi, and today's topic is gonna be a really different one because a lot of times people don't understand that where you start is not where you end up. And while Doc is coming on, Doc, did you get the invitation link going on over there?
No, I
Okay, right
didn't.
here. Invite. Here we go.
So,
Invitation sent. If you're watching this on YouTube, watching this on TikTok, please. We had a perfect show last week, a workshop that we did. If you want to go, it's in there. It's in our courses section in YouTube. But I just want to say the topic of today is where you start is not really where you end up. And while I get us all set up technically, Doc, let us know what we'll be going over as usual, and then we'll just jump right into it.
so, yeah, I mean, honestly, what we're going to be talking about today, everybody, is, essentially, a lot of times what we do in our lives is, and maybe I'm doing this the wrong way, but in any case, you know, um, a lot of people they think that their past dictates their future, like because
Right.
they've been through something, that their future is now set in stone. I'm
Mhm.
stuck in this situation. And then what we do, unfortunately, when you adopt that belief, you then start creating you start reaffirming that, and you create the future you didn't want in the first place. And so today we're going to be talking about how to break out of that, how to recognize that you're doing it, that how you're doing it in your relationship, how you're doing it with your kids, how you're doing it with yourself, your job, where you live, how you keep your body. We're going to talk to you about how you do that, and then we're going to talk to you about how to get out of that. Because what's happening right now is a lot of times the problem, well, I'm going to say not a lot of times, I'm going to be honest, every time it's not your external environment that's causing you to be where you are. It's your own beliefs. Like, you're doing it to yourself, whether you know it or not. You're literally doing it to yourself. So
100%.
we're going to be talking about how to break out of that, recognize it and break out of it today.
Right, that's 100% is correct because you got to understand what you challenge your beliefs. Like last week's workshop is challenging those beliefs, where it came from. If you was any part of this show, right, you got to figure out that challenging those beliefs is going to be very important because who made those beliefs? You know what I mean? And you got to be able to challenge them in such a way that you can figure something out. I will tell you what happened to me yesterday. And by the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Gordon Watt, co-founder of Boundaries and Brotherhood. I'm your host with Dr.
Dr. Keith Fairclough, also co-founder, and co-host of Boundaries and Brotherhood,
Yes.
resident therapist.
He's a real therapist, guys.
Yeah.
I'm just a regular person. But now let's just get back to it. So yesterday I'm going to tell you what happened. This is a surreal moment for me because that's why I wanted to show that where you started is not where you end up. So I got to talk in front of the federal probation office with the director by my side, representing basically a different type of mindset. And I didn't know if it was I was in the front of a parole hearing. Should I go piss this, or the sheriff's going to take me downstairs back again? Because the same hallways, the same smell, the same carpet of a federal building, and that's what changed it. And when I sat on the table and I gave them my speech, not selling the program that I'm associated with, but knowing that the lives that you're saving and what to incorporate when being that PO talking to a real convict, right? Now, because I've changed, it didn't matter that I still didn't have those feelings, but I also had to change my mindset. Now, you got to understand the importance of this. The importance was is I was the person did my time, they have the receipts, and they all agreed, the probation department, even in Reno on Zoom, that I did have the receipts because they do the background check on me, right?
Mm.
Because who's just coming into our building, right?
Mhm.
So after I gave my speech, I seen my OPO to be able to do that. My life came in full circle, where the choices that I made, the revisions that I made, the mindset and the certain beliefs I've changed got me to held my ground to represent this side, but knowing that there's an other side of it. And that was a very proud moment for me, Doc. And I want to share that with this because that was huge. Even for Derek, who was also there, was also like he didn't know what to say at one point but at the same time, it's something that if I didn't change my mindset, my ways, my beliefs, my behaviors, my goals, what would give me that opportunity to give these men and gentlemen the advice and the respect they gave me was just unbelievable
Yeah.
because I wasn't a crash test dummy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I think it's important, Gordon, for people to like truly understand the gravity of that situation, and especially as we're talking today, because you're looking at someone who came from a broken background, came from broken parents, was into drugs, into prostitution, into all types of stuff, right?
Everything.
Selling people in clubs, like all these things like this. And if you were to look at Gordon back then, you would never say, oh yeah, he's going to be informing federal law enforcement officers on how to better support the community. That doesn't even make sense,
I
right?
don't.
Like
I
no
don't.
one, but that only doesn't make sense if he did believe that that's who I was. That's all of who I was. But he did work. He had to look at himself and take an honest assessment of himself in the mirror and say, you know what? I can't keep doing this. Right?
Mhm.
I can't keep living this way. I can't keep making these same decisions, these same choices. I can't keep doing that. I got to do something different. That's who I used to be. That's not who I plan on being anymore. So he had to have that dividing line, kind of draw that line in the sand where he says, my life is not going to be different. My life is going to change. I'm not going to be that same man anymore. I'm going to bury that man. I'm going to become something new, something better. And
Ooh.
now when you look at him, you're looking at a father, right? Someone who
Right.
loves his kids. He's there. He's present. You're looking at a husband, someone who loves his wife, someone who's treating her with respect, right? And think of that dichotomy. He went from, and obviously no disrespect, Gordon, but like someone that
Nope.
was destroying lives, destroying
Destroying.
children's lives, destroying women's lives, to someone who is now cultivating and saving children's lives, and being a huge, benefit and blessing to his own wife, where she can go and do what she needs to do and feel comfortable and safe with him around the kids. And on top of that, like even coming out, because again, and Gordon, you can speak to this even better than I could, but then a lot of people come out, it's like, well, my life is over. I have this brand on me. I'm an ex-felon or wants an ex-felon. These doors are closed. But then he goes to the Cosmopolitan and gets a job where they said, you can't get a job there. And then he kills it over there. And so then it's his beliefs that help him to break that mold. And then what happens, people look at you at first and say, oh, well, yeah, I'll just wait for him to fall, wait for him to fail. A lot of those probation officers, Gordon, they probably have a lot of guys in front of them that sell all types of story, right? And they say, yeah, eventually, yeah, he'll be back in jail.
Yeah,
He'll be
absolutely.
back, But Gordon was like, yeah, no, I'm not going back. So
I
now
was
that's the culmination, right? That's the culmination. He's standing before all the federal probation officers and things like that, in Vegas and in Reno, and he's sharing his story and he's sharing the impact, and he's the one that's teaching them. That's wild.
That's wild.
But that's the power of changing your belief. And
yeah,
you started in a bad place, but you don't have to keep going down that path. You can change. Where you start is not where you have to finish. I think that's like the take-home message of that, guys. Like it's critical for you to just grasp that, of where he was coming from with that.
I mean, it's so funny because when you said that, like I was a person that this is how bad it used to be for me. Okay, I would get arrested, go to jail, come out, get bonded out, get picked back up 3 days later, and go back right to the same bed. That's how it used to be for me. And some of these people could attest to all this stuff that I've been doing, because it's like, you don't understand, to be able to just, when I'm sitting down at this conference table, Doc, it's so surreal because I got the director of federal probation right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got all her staff listening to me.
Mm-hmm.
Insights, the thankfulness, the gratitude, and the part that got to me was, I seen my PO.
Mm-hmm.
I see my PO, and she waved at me, and she literally, am I a unicorn? You can call me whatever it is. It doesn't matter, because I told him the hardest work it had to take was for me to take accountability and to change.
Ooh.
So if you don't take accountability for yourself, and you don't put in the action towards what you need to do, where you start, you're always going to go back full circle where you started.
Yep.
right? Now, if you start
Yeah.
and you have an end goal of starting something like that, that will change the trajectory, the purpose, the accountability. And I'm not saying it's for everybody, but you could do this in business. In fact, this is
Oh,
Doc.
wait, no,
I'm
wait,
gonna
Gordon. Well, what's
go
not
ahead.
for everybody? What part's not for
Not,
everybody?
it's not for everybody in a sense that because you don't want to do it, it's a
Oh,
choice. There's a
I was about to
big
say,
difference.
like, yeah, no, it's definitely for
There's a
everybody.
big
Now, whether you
difference.
want to do it or not,
Yes,
yeah,
that's what
that's
I was getting at.
story.
Whether you want to do it or not is the choice that you make. Because
Yeah,
there's so many times I sat on a rack of why am I screwed up? Where did it stem from? Where did the trauma begin? Or where I didn't know what it was from. I thought it was just a habit. Because the familiarity is to go back to what I know, right?
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
when I came to Vegas and I came out where I'm going to do something where I'm completely oblivious to everything, the job,
yeah,
the people, the talking, the marriage, everything, the father, all this stuff. But I stuck that shit out, Doc.
yeah,
Right. Because you can relate to the story because even for yourself, right?
yeah.
You can talk about where you started and where you ended. And here's the thing, Doc, talk about, I'm going to get this box, Doc. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, I know when it comes to when you talk about like personal responsibility, let me start there first and foremost, right? Because Gordon's 100% right. Like you got a choice.
Look at this,
You got a
Doc.
choice to make. Oh,
This is, if you guys don't know, this is an industry that we're going to, and I just signed my contract for ownership. That's how beautiful it is.
that's what can happen when you change. The
Exactly.
opportunities and things like that come up. That's what happens when
They
you
just
change,
pop up.
right? You know, and I will say this, when it comes to like taking personal responsibility, right? Like it is a choice.
Yep.
It is a choice. And I came to this realization honestly through my faith because I was like on Judgment Day when I'm standing before God and I'm talking with Jesus, I'm not gonna I can't blame anybody else. I'm not gonna be able to say, oh, well, you know what, Jesus, it was my wife. That's why I did that, or my kids, or it was a system, or it was because of racism. That's why God. So give me a pass, it's because these things happen to me. Give me a pass, that's why I didn't change. Jesus is gonna look at me and say, yeah, nah, fam, it don't work that way. You had the power to change your life. You had the power to do something different. You had the power to make a different decision. And as a matter of fact, here are millions and millions and millions and millions of other people who had it way worse than you, and they changed their life by somebody making a decision. So I'm not buying that. Sorry, man. I don't know you, right? That God knows I don't ever want that to be a conversation I have with Jesus Christ. But what I got from that was that you must take personal responsibility. No one can do it for you. You can't blame your wife. You can't blame your parents. You can't blame your kids. You can't blame the job. You can't blame the white man. You can't blame the black man. You can't blame systemic racism. You can't blame anything else. And here's the reason, because you have the power to do something different. Even if you came from all that stuff affected you. You had bad parents. You came from a bad neighborhood with bad systems and all that stuff. You still have the ability to make a choice. You still have the ability to say, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be like this anymore. I want to do something different. And instead of believing the lie that, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or it's too hard, or you don't understand, instead of making those lies or excuses, you just say, listen, I got to get it done one way or the other. I'm going to find a way one way or the other. Because the motto I always put at the bottom of all my emails is, every problem has a solution if you set your mind and intent to find it. And I've yet to find someone to prove me wrong on that statement. I've yet to find somebody. Because here's the thing. I forgot who said this quote, but whether you believe you can or you can't, I think it was Henry Ford. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So if you believe you can't, what you're going to do is you're create a system where you can. You wonder why you keep getting into bad relationships? Because you believe you're not good enough. So even when you get into a good one and they check all the boxes, you will literally find a way to sabotage yourself out of that situation. Same thing with the job, same thing with any other opportunity, because you can't go beyond what we believe. So you have to recognize that this belief I have about myself, about my situation, about my life, you have to make a stance and say, listen, that's not correct. That's not what I want to believe. I want to believe something different. I want to believe I can be a better father. I want to believe I can be a better husband. I want to believe I can have my own business. I want to believe I can sit at the with the federal probation director and inform them, even though my past says I shouldn't be there.
Yep.
My beliefs now in the future I'm creating now saying I absolutely should be there, not just there, but shoot, I can go to Washington D.C. and go with the FBI or any other agency, and I can say the same thing. Like, that's the belief that you can have, and we know this for sure because there are so many people that have come back from the brink of destruction and have done extremely well for themselves. So you don't have an excuse that's going to be worthy enough for you to rely on. You just don't. There is no excuse that any human being could create to say, this is why my past now dictates my future and I can't change it. There's nobody that can do that. Now, you can make any excuse you want and say, oh, Keith, yeah, it's easy for you to say blah, blah, blah. Listen. You save it for someone who's going to believe the lie, because listen, the only person you're lying to right now is yourself. If you believe it's too hard, it's too much, I can't do it, I'm not smart enough, not good enough, all that, those are all lies you're telling yourself, and the only one that's believing and buying it is you. So if you're ready to break out of that and do something different, it starts with making a choice. It starts with making a change. It starts with saying, hey, I don't want to live like this anymore. Hell or high water, I'm going to do whatever I can to break out of it, but I'm not going to believe that I'm stuck in this situation.
No. I mean, you hit everything that Doc said is right on the head, because some of you guys believe you cannot. Where I'm exactly the opposite. Even from my other group, it's like we can, because we try to break the stuff and then figure it out. Because there's no lessons, there's no loss, there's no L's. It's what the lessons you learn. And believe me, I used to be the knucklehead, the crash test dummy that never learned. I just want to force the hole in a square peg or the triangle into something else. Now, am I different? Am I wrong for doing that? You're wrong if you keep trying to do something over and over again and trying to get the same result by making other people change. The whole secret is to change yourself and the beliefs that you have and challenge everything else that you're going on. Because when you look at the end result, if you picture this, guys, if you're looking for an end result, your business, your marriage, your relationship, your occupation, your profession, if it's not working for you and the people around you is not changing, change how you see things and way you do things. Take a step, pause, use it. This is what we promote. The emotional intelligence of a person determines what he or she can do in the future, not just tomorrow, 6 years, 6 months, the next day. But you got to take these little steps that are going to make it happen. Because if you change your beliefs, and you take the accountability for it, and you learn, you grow, you put everything else, just like our speaker we had the Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
he was a 6'7" dude that didn't know how to play basketball, but still ended up in the league.
Yeah.
What the? But now he's one of the major players in the investment community, in the real estate community this day. But he goes, I am 6'2" in 6'7" in high school, and he couldn't play basketball because of his upbringing. He didn't have the opportunities. So he took all of this and made his opportunities so that he could play in the league and become what he did. Doc, if somebody is watching this, which they are right now live, right? And then we had a comment, Dr. Junior, he said, Jermaine Deward. What I got it up here.
Nemhard. Yeah, nah.
Nemhard, right? All right. We gotta do a
Yeah.
shout out, right, guys? Now understand where, guys, I keep telling, I mean, it's so I can't even put this so much forward. What you think you are right now is not what you will be years later if you put in the work. Straight up, no gifts, no. Will it be hard? I'm not saying it's easy. The hardest thing you're gonna have to do is take the self accountability, though, and that's where I have to hammer. Doc, what do you see when people come to you that don't take self accountability for themselves and their relationships, and what can they do to change?
Yeah. So what I see with that is a lot of times people they already have a story they're telling themselves. I have a whole video on that, about how
Ooh.
you need to change your narrative and change your story. It's the same thing. I've tried this. I've tried everything. Nothing works. You haven't tried everything, right?
You
But
haven't. No.
but I've tried everything. I've done this. I've done that. So on and so forth, right? That's usually what I hear. Like, this is just my lot in life. Things along those lines. I'm like, but you haven't tried everything. As a matter of fact, I'll keep it a stack with you, Gordon. There's a lot of people I work with. They say I've tried everything, but they never tried even the stuff that I've given them. I've given them somebody say, hey, you need to go meditate. You need to go practice breathing. Do these exercises. And I always tell my clients, the ones that make the progress are the ones that do the work. The ones that struggle with making progress, the ones that don't do the work. Right
Yep.
now, I'll give you my 100%. I'll give you my 100% and then some. But if you don't do the work, there's nothing that can happen. But because the story you tell yourself, nothing's going to work. Nothing, it's not going to happen. It's too hard. It's too much. This is just my lot in life, and I'm like, you get stuck there, right? You have to change the narrative. You have to
All the
move
time.
yourself
Yep.
from being the victim. Don't allow, the voice that's in your head to paint you out to be a victim. Don't let the voice in your head paint you out to be that you can't change your own life. Like, that's what happens a lot of times, Gordon. There's a voice that's like, no matter what you do, you'll never be good enough. You'll never do enough, so on and so forth, right? And I'm sure we've all had that voice at some point in time. And sometimes that voice is our own, based out of fear. And sometimes that voice comes from somebody else, someone else's insecurity that was implanted into us at a very young age.
Ooh. Yep.
And so you have to recognize, and this is what taking personal responsibility, is, and taking accountability for yourself is. Start recognizing that, okay, that voice isn't true. Like, I am a human being who has the power to change the very course of not just my life, but the course of history for some of us. And once you believe that, you truly believe that, then there's nothing that can stop you. There's nothing that can hinder you. And so it's something else, Gordon, that you mentioned. You talk about like the goals, right? And I need everyone to really lock in when I'm saying this right now, right? The goal at the end is not to make more money. The goal
No.
at the end isn't to have a better relationship. The goal at the end isn't to be better with your kids. The goal at the end is not to start a business. That's not the goal. I know you're like, what are you talking about, Keith? What I'm talking about is the goal should be, I'm a different man at that point. And the different man at that point, he will be the great husband. He will be the great father. He will be the great businessman. He will be great in whatever it is. So the progress in the journey, it's about becoming the man. It's not about achieving the goal. Because if it was about achieving the goal, then when you got there, everything would be great. But how many millionaires are depressed and suicidal?
Empty.
How many people, they have the best looking wife, the best this, the best that, and they're still miserable. They have phenomenal kids, they're still miserable. So what's the real issue here? So is it achieving the goal, achieving those things? Those things are all byproducts of you changing. And that's why I always try to tell my clients, you have to change. Stop looking at your partner and saying, oh, you, or the system, or my boss, or this person. No, stop looking at everybody else. Look at yourself. What do I have to do to change? How do I need to stop taking things personal? How do I need to change how I think? How do I need to change that voice in my head? How do I need to start having compassion, forgiveness? How do I got to start having boundaries? How do I start going to the gym and take care of my health? How do I got to start what do I need to do? How do I need to change my communication? And here's the thing. I'm not talking from some book or some theory, guys. I'm talking from real lived experience. Real lived experience that's repeatable, because the same things I did to change are the same things other people who are way further ahead than me did to change. They had to become the man that was ready for the moment. That's what they had to do. They had to become the man that was ready for the marriage, become the man that was ready for the kids, become the man that was ready for the business, become the man that was ready to make that progress. But the version of you right now is not designed or built to handle all these things. And that's why it feels like crushing weight on you. You haven't become the man necessary because you still believe things that were instilled in you when you were a little kid. You were a little kid when these things were instilled in you, and you still believe it, and you perpetrate it, and you look for ways to sabotage yourself to reaffirm a belief that's not even your own. That's crazy work. And so in order to change that, you got to change the story. You have to look back on your life. No, I'm not a victim. Yeah, bad things happen to me, but I survived that. I came out of it. Look at the life I created. A victim can't create that type of life. So I'm going to take control and command, and I'm going to start changing things. Let me also say this as well, for those of the faith. God said the same things I'm saying to you was the same things he said to me. He said, Keith, stop crying. I gave you all this ability. I gave you all these skills. You done wrote books. You done made programs. You out here and me crying in the morning about how unfair it is and how hard it is. He said, bro, get your butt up and get to work, man.
There you go.
It wasn't some soft, flowery Joel Osteen message. No. It was get your butt up, because I gave you all this skill, gift, talent, and ability, health, all this stuff, support, loving. I've given you all these things. If you don't get out of my face this foolishness, if you don't get out of my face, he did the same thing of it. Listen, the same thing Joshua came to God and he was like, oh, God, they beat us in battle and all this. God said, man, get up and get out of my face and go do what you need to do. There's sin in the camp. Go do what you need to do. So all of us need to take this message, right? You need to take this message and look at it and say, hey, listen, I need to get myself together, man. Enough's enough, right? You're worried about, or my wife leaving me or my health or all these things like that, the job, the bit. No, what do I got to do to change myself? What book do I need to read? You want to talk about, did you really pull out all the stops and do everything? Have you read all the books? Have you watched all the podcasts? Have you did all the assignments? Have you taken the assessments? Are you reassessing and changing and improving over and over again? Right? Are you looking at yourself and taking responsibility for your own behaviors, your thoughts, your actions, your words, your deeds? Are you doing that on a regular basis? Because if you do that on a regular basis, you can't. Let me say, you cannot. It is impossible for you to really do, really do the work and say the same. It's impossible.
No, you can't. I mean, it's highly impossible. Yeah.
You just can't. So if you're really doing the work, if you're really putting in that work and that effort, yeah, you'll change. You will be the man you want to be on the other side, and you'll be able to enjoy the blessings that come with that, which is
the blessings,
love, connection, network, family. All of that stuff will come when
everything is
a man that can receive that. But the current version of you right now, he can't receive that. And if I put him in that spot, he couldn't receive it, which is where a lot of men are right now. So it's critical for you to do the work to change and stop telling yourself the same old story. And Gordon, I'm gonna pass off to you. If you kept telling yourself the same old story, you would not be where you are today. You would not be.
No way. There's no way possible. I wouldn't be here. If I wasn't the same person I was today, I wouldn't be here with you running a show. Multiple shows, right? There's no way. Because I would come off on a different way. I would be a different person. We just got a red flag on TikTok. So it appealed. It popped up. It blocked the stream or something like that. But good thing we're streaming in 5 different platforms.
That might have been on me because I used the S word instead of saying unalive people yourself or something like that. I know TikTok's pretty.
Oh, does it do that? Oh, okay. It's like, I don't know. I just press the button, appeal this and that. I don't know. They probably stopped pushing it, but it doesn't matter. This is just one platform, one phone, one video camera, one everything. Yeah. It doesn't matter because you look at it. If you're of fear of being too old or starting something new, I'm walking, living proof that you can be done. I'm 58 years old with 2 small kids. I'm crazy, right? Do you regret unpursued dreams and passions that you never fulfilled? We did some content on that 3 weeks ago. If you're looking for a desire to have new, fresh sense of purpose and living, this is the things you have to do, but you have to really sit down and understand where you are in your life right now so you can move forward with anything else that you do. Because you got to think, like Doc said, the goal is not the things, the objects, the attention grabbing, the ego thing. The ego thing matches that with the goals. The goal is to be able to, when you meet that man, whatever happens, who you believe in, and when he asks you, why do you deserve to come in? What are you going to say? Right? Because you're going to be judged by your actions and all this stuff. But what do you say to your God? Or, did you give him the things that can either make you sway your mind? Or what do you tell somebody like that? Or what do you have in your mind? Because, let's face it, guys, when you have a life-changing moment, when I say a life-changing moment, when Everything slows down and your life flashes before your eyes and you realize certain things, right? You ever had one of those, Doc?
Oh yeah, of
Okay.
course.
What do you think about at that moment? What do you tell God? What do you why do you deserve to be in those gates?
Hmm.
Besides not being surprised that you're there.
Well, well, I mean, that might have a different answer. I don't know if that the
Okay.
answer for that one will line up so much with what we're talking about today, because that's, for a long
Was
story
that a
short, we
sidebar?
don't. If you're talking about, yeah, that's more of a sidebar, because
Okay,
if we're
sidebar.
talking about faith or whatnot, we're talking about making it into heaven. The fact of the matter is, no matter what you do, you don't deserve to be. We don't deserve to be in there. The only
Okay.
reason why we ever make it to heaven is because of Jesus Christ and His sacrifice, right? So that's
True.
the
One
reason
how
we
much
make it.
okay,
But
let's take
but
that one
with
back.
but I'll say this though. I'll say this. We can still work with that in some way, right?
Okay.
Because we're going to be held. There's a parable in the Bible that talks about, this rich man. It's a parable of the talents, where one guy got 5, one guy got 2, one guy got 1, and the master left and came back, and he was asking them to do an account of what they've done. So going
Okay.
from that standpoint, right? If you were standing before God and He was like, "What did you do with what I gave you?" Right?
Oh,
Are you
okay.
going to just say, "Oh yeah, I just buried it in the sand because I wasn't good enough"? I didn't do
There
anything
you go.
because I wasn't
Love
good
it.
enough. Like, and would that, if especially if you're a man who has a business, would that answer work for you? If you left and said, "Hey
Exactly.
guys, I'm giving you, I gotta go and do something international. I'm gonna be back in a month. I need to see here's what y'all responsibilities are. I'm gonna come back in a month, and we're gonna do an account of what happens when I come back, right?" And if you came back and one of your employees sat with you and said, "Yeah, I just didn't really think I was good enough, and I was kind of scared that I might get in trouble, so I actually didn't do anything at all." Are you gonna be like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's cool. Let me give you a raise"? No,
No,
you're not. You're gonna be like,
no.
"I gave you something according to your ability, and you
Beautiful.
did nothing with it." You're the other guys did something with it. They doubled it, right? They did something with it. And then he even went on to say, in the scripture, the parable, he was saying, you could have even, at least, at the very least, you could have subcontract that out. You could have subcontracted out, let somebody do something with it. You just kept it and did nothing. This is my business. This is my livelihood, And so when you stop and think about it from that standpoint, right? So now, even if you're standing before God or anybody else, any authority in your life, your wife, your kids, anybody, and they're asking it, imagine your kids later on in life looking at you like, "Dad, bro, like, why weren't you there?" You know,
Mm.
like what kind of answer can you give? Well,
Yeah.
I didn't believe
Ooh.
I was good enough. So, that's why I wasn't there. So that's why. Yeah, that's not gonna fly, pops. That's
I've
not
been
gonna
there.
fly. You know,
I've been there.
it's just not gonna fly. Sorry. No, you have the ability to make a choice. You need to be accountable for your actions. You got to be accountable, for the decisions you make, right? And if you've been given this gift, skill, talent, and ability, it's your responsibility, not just before God, but for humanity, for you to operate and execute on that. But you believe in a story that you're not good enough. That's not even a story that's true. I'm gonna say that right now. Any man that believes I'm not good enough, that's not a true story. That's a lie. I'm letting you know that right now. That is a bold-faced lie. What do you mean you're not good enough? For one, your self-worth, you're already worthy of love and respect and honor. Like, you're already worthy of that already, right?
Mhm.
Like, without doing anything at all. When you were born, you were already worthy of that. Then two, y'all got skills, gifts, talents, and abilities that will blow people out the water. Blow them out the water. For whatever reason, you think it's not good enough. Some of y'all can draw, y'all can code, y'all can make businesses, y'all can buy and sell and flip things. You can do all these things. You have a massive amount of knowledge, and you're stuck because there's this belief, there's this story that someone created that you adopted, that I'm not good enough. I need you
From
to get
somebody
rid
else.
of that story. I don't
From
know,
somebody else.
maybe unadopt, maybe that's the word, but whatever you got to do, get rid of that story and start walking in your purpose, start walking in your calling. And for anyone who's saying, "Well, I don't know my purpose," or "I don't know my calling," ask yourself this question: how much effort are you putting in on a regular basis to actually find it? How many books are you reading? How many videos are you watching? How much time are you spending praying and fasting? How much journaling are you doing? Because a lot of times when I hear people say that and I say, "Hey, read this book that can help you," most people don't read the book. I say, "Do these exercises." Most people don't do the exercises. So is it
Mm.
really that? I really want to find it, or I just really want to stay stuck to this story because the story is comfortable. Because
Because
if I
it's
get
easy.
stuck to the story, and this is just be honest, and you got to, like Gordon said, accountability is not easy, but you have to
It's
look
not.
yourself in the mirror, right? And all this information, everything we talked about, and you have to be honest and be like, yeah, no, I just don't really want to do it. I don't want to put that level of effort in. I'm not a reader. I don't want to sit down and do the exercises. And ultimately, what you need to tell yourself is, I am comfortable in my misery. This is good for me. I'm okay not producing. I'm okay letting my marriage fall apart. I'm okay not being a good father. I'm okay not making the money I can make, right? I'm okay just living a life where I blame the white man for all my problems. I'm okay with that. That's cool to me, right? I'm okay being a mental slave after all this time. I'm good with that. Just admit that. Just be honest, because you'll
Just be
save
honest.
everybody. You'll save all of us so much time and effort.
Save
Because if you're
yourself.
in that category where it's like, I'm comfortable with my foolishness, I'm comfortable with the lies, then please do me a favor, step out of the line, because there's somebody who says, I'm ready to change. There's somebody
Yes.
that says, I don't want to believe that. There's somebody
Yeah.
that says, I'm going to be a better father. I'm going to be a better husband. I don't know how. I don't know what resources there are. I just know in my mind, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way to communicate with my wife. I'm going to find a way to communicate with my kids. I'm going to find a way to make more money, either on my job or do my own thing. I'm going to find a way, right? So that's the mindset you have to have. But if you're honest with yourself and you're comfortable saying that, hey, this is the life these are the beliefs I believe, and I believe I'm a victim, and I'm okay believing that, and I'm waiting for someone to come save me, when no one's going to come save you. I'm gonna let you know that right now. And what's going to happen is, as well, that mindset is going to drive people away. I'm going to keep it a stat.
Yep.
You'll wonder why
Yep.
people
Yep.
don't want to hang around you, because every time they're around you, oh, what was me? This is how bad it is. Oh my gosh. Oh, the world's against me. It's so hard. I can't change. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. And the friend tries to say, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Why don't you try to do this? Why don't you try to do that? Someone will empathize with you. Man, that must be tough. Man, that must be hard. And everyone will do everything they can do. Here's this resource. Here's this. But you know what? All you say is, oh, well, yeah, it's too hard. I can't do it. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations where I didn't have the money, but somehow I found the money. It's crazy. Gordon,
It happens.
I cannot tell you how many times. I cannot tell you how many times that I experienced that. And I'm not the only one. I keep telling you guys, I'm not the only one. This is not anecdotal stuff. This is stuff that's been tried and true over and over and over and over again. The man that says, I'm willing to change, I will do anything in order to do it, they will be the ones that experience change. They will be the ones that save their marriage. They will be the ones that save their lives. They'll be the ones to be in their kids' lives. They'll be the ones, no matter where they came from, they will be the ones to reap all the blessings and benefits that this world has to offer. Is there bad stuff in this world? Yeah, but there's also a tremendous amount of good. Just depends on what you want to focus your energy on. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people in that mindset, Gordon, to reinforce those beliefs, they just focus on all the bad. Well, what's the point anyways? The world's so bad anyways. What are you talking about? Then do something to make it better. How about that? Why don't you do something to make it better? Why don't you be a better husband? How about that? Just start there. Start in your little world, in your house, in your home. Be a better husband, right? And not just, oh, I make money and that's enough. No,
That's not it.
Oh man, I can't stand that.
Doc is going off. I told you, Doc is about Doc.
Right?
This is what we got.
Because you wouldn't be homeless under a bridge. You would not be homeless under a bridge if you weren't married. I'm sorry, you wouldn't. Unless you're a bum. And if you're a bum, then I guess you would be homeless under a bridge. I don't know.
But I mean,
but as far as like, what are you willing to do to become better? To become a better man?
Simple.
Because when you become a better man, it works in every other situation, but you got to make a choice. If you don't make a choice, if you don't choose to do something different, if you don't choose to be a better man, if you don't choose to really put the work in, I had to put the work in. Gordon, that's the big part for me and for you. We didn't just say we want to be different and then we were different, right? It wasn't like that. And for those that are fake, I didn't go to the altar, raise my hand, speak in tongues, and then everything was different. It didn't work that way. I had to do the work. I had help. I had guidance. I had a God. I had men like Gordon. I had people online. I learned through books. I learned through example. Like, I did the work. If you're willing to do the work, you can have the life you want and you can change. But if you're not willing to do the work, and if you just be honest, It's not because you don't have time. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, ain't no one working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm sorry, you're not. You're just not. Some of y'all go to the club. Some of y'all spend time drinking. Some of y'all 10 times smoking, right? Don't do that. You'll have all these vices. Some of y'all will spend all this time on social media. Some of y'all spend all this time trying to chase a skirt. Don't tell me you don't have time. We make time for the things that are important. And if your own life and if your own change is not important enough for you to make time, then your situation it's going to stay the same. You don't worry about seeking help for it because you don't really want to change it. You make the time for the things that are important.
That's what it all comes down. I just want to give a shout out to my friend right there, the Presence King. We're gonna have to get him on the show because he talks into thousands of people along with Lester Brown protege, my other friend Kareem. But understand, you got like you said, Doc, right? You got to put in the work regardless of what you dig it up and where this thing started. Like, if you're looking for ways to reframe your failures, you want to learn from your experiences, and you need that push in that direction, guys, that's what this ticker at the bottom right here. Go to assessment.boundaries and brotherhood and take your assessment, and we'll send it out, right? If you're looking for a stronger self-compassion and forgiveness and a way to do it so you can move forward, that's what we're here for again also. Because, when you start looking at certain things in your life and you want to be where you want to be, say you have a dream outcome that you want to be, but you're not willing to put in the work, you will stay where you are and you will go back to prison and you will be that drug addict. You will take that hit. You will go back drinking and doing all that good stuff. Like you said, you will get bad relationships because you're familiar with that. But what happens when you open that door, you cross it because you did the work and you was confident about it to put your foot forward. You get to go in front of millions of people and do what you were meant to be with a little bit more experience and wisdom, right? Because with that, you have confidence. And what Doc said, confidence is just saying what you're going to do and doing it. Whether it's baby steps, small steps, you're still moving in the path forward, regardless of where you are at. Because, one thing that I'm very passionate about is helping people change for the better for themselves so that they be confident in their shoes, whether they're at their job, their profession, themselves, their dad, their father, because I was everything the opposite at one point in my life. Like you said, when you said everything that you described, I have lived through it. And I used to reflect back on those so I can become the person I am today, to be able to be the keynote speaker in front of all them federal officers, which is still blows my mind, right? But you look at everything that I've worked for to be able to say I can do that. Not many people can say that. That you can actually say, I was the person going in the door, doing the P test, doing the check-in, going through all the hoops, to now I'm giving counsel and an authority figure. How wild is that? Is that grace or blessings?
Yeah, I mean that's how God works. Honestly, you look at someone like honestly Gordon. That's very similar to like Paul the Apostle, right? He was going around killing Christians and throwing them in jail and breaking up families and disrupting churches and just running amok, right? And then God was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna turn it around on you." He started off right. He started off bad, but where he started did not dictate where he was going to end up on the other side. And he ended up becoming one of the most, he wrote 1/3 of the Bible. Someone who should have been counted out. Someone who wasn't down for the cause in the beginning. Someone, as a matter of fact, was against the cause in the beginning. And they're writing 1/3 of the Bible, right? So yeah, you can't count somebody out. And that's another thing as well, gentlemen. If you feel that the world has counted you out, or other people have counted you out and said you're no good, you're not going to be nothing, maybe that's the voice you have in your head. Don't believe that, right? You have the final say on what you want your life to be like. And the reason why I say you is because God already wants you. He said he wants everybody to be saved. He said he wants everybody to be saved, right? But he said, but y'all got to want it. Y'all got to want it. I already did everything on my side. Y'all got to want that. If y'all don't want that, I can't, nothing I can do. I've given you everything you need to make the choice. So nothing can hold you back. So it comes down to you making a decision to saying, hey, what do I want my story to be? And maybe it started off bad. I was a drug dealer. I was a deadbeat dad. I was a horrible husband. I was a cheater. I was a liar. I was a thief. I was a killer. I was all these things, right? And maybe that's what it was. That's my story started out. But now I get to say, but then.
But
But then I watched the
exactly.
podcast, my
Beautiful.
life changed. But
Beautiful.
then I had an experience with God. But then I listened to Keith and Gordon and I started thinking different. But then I came across this video. But then I saw this car. You can change, and your story can be something phenomenal and wonderful and beautiful and powerful and transformational for all those who might be experiencing something similar to what you've been through. I think that's critical. Everybody has a story. I can't reach everybody. Gordon can't reach everybody, but you might be able to reach people who we can't reach in whatever
Yes.
area you're in. So it's your personal responsibility, not just for you to change your life for you, but because when you change your life, you're going to be able to help change other people's lives as well. Because that's just a natural progression of things. Because when you get delivered and when you change your life, when things are different for you, it's like something that wells up. You want to give back. You want to be like Gordon. Hey, let me go with this program, try to reach these kids, and try to reach these families, right? Because I know what my life was like. I know what I experienced. I don't want them to go through the same thing. Same thing with me doing counseling. I know what I've been through in my marriage with my kids, with my own mother and father and siblings and things like that. I don't want anyone else to have to go through those things. So now I'm going to give back. I'm going to change lives. And then it continues to move forward and forward. So staying stuck in your spot, you got to do something different. You can't. It's your responsibility. You are robbing the world, not just yourself. So when you lie to yourself, you're not just robbing yourself. You're robbing the world of a gift, lives that can be changed, lives that can be changed. But you just got to show up. And I'll share this real quick story, right? One of the turning points for me, right? Because we talk about wanting to change and do something different. And I came across a video of Dr. Eric Thomas where he was getting on this kid, you know, in school, because I was working in schools and I found this video and I just showed it to the class. He was getting on this kid in school because he kept interrupting his speech, right? And that video, that was a moment that changed for me. That was 2018, changed for me. I'm like, whoa, this is something different. Now I started writing my own story. I started changing how I would think. Stop blaming other people. Start taking responsibility. Start creating different things, creating different programs. And now I'm so much further along and able to bless other people because of the changes I've made so they can go and bless other people as well. So it's critical for you to take personal responsibility because it's not just about you. There are many, many others who need your story, but you got to write it. You got to change it and show them that, yeah, if I can come out of it, you can too.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Guys, if this didn't get you in a way that it's supposed to, I don't know what will. But I just wanted to say that, you know, who we are is, you know, you got Dr. Keith and myself. The only difference is we just want to help you succeed and everything else that you got moving forward. Where you start doesn't matter to me because I've been below that. In fact, some of my people here, what's up, Moose, that see me below that type of person to be where I'm at today because of what we're offering here. Boundaries and brotherhood. You know, we help you get emotional control. We help you with accountability. We help you with mastering communication. We help you with strengthening your self-esteem. And all you have to do is basically scan the code that's right here on the left of me. Is it this way? Or one of the ways.
I see it over here.
Go to assessment.boundaries and brotherhood so you can get and jump on what we have to offer. Some of it is free. Most of it is free right now, but we want to give you, we're going to be going over so many different things that can shape you to where you are right now to becoming the best version of yourself tomorrow, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. And like we say, the kumbaya crap, because that's not going to work. But if you're willing to put in the work and work with us, we will get you results that you can be actually confident about, to have the things Doc was. Because the difference between me and Doc is we just want to help. Not the difference, but the difference is he has the certificates. I have the knowledge of the streets. That too. Combine that, you know how powerful that is? We just won our appeal on TikTok. They just let us stream again.
A little late to the game on that one, right?
Yeah. No, because I was appealing it right here while we were talking.
Yeah.
But guys, I guess why don't you end with that? And guys, I just wanted to say, this is proud thanks to our sponsor, Alert Pop. I'm just stupid like that.
Well, I'll say,
close it out, please. You get a hard stop. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there, gentlemen. And as if you've been following us for any length of time, I was actually talking to Gordon about this. Sometimes it's more the flowery, emotional, understanding, empathetic type language, and then sometimes it's like this too. But I think we as men, we need both, right? If you're
We need both.
sharpening a
Yep.
sword, or have you ever done any type of smithing or anything like that? With weapons and things like there has to be that hard iron sharpening iron, right? But then what happens? And you put it in the water and cool it, right? So yeah, sometimes you need the hard stuff, sometimes you need the soft stuff, but it's a blend of both. That's how you get better. That's how you learn. That's how you change. That's how you grow. So that's what I hope you guys come to experience, and working with us, is that you're going to get the full range. You're going to get the full range. Not going to be like Gordon was saying, like all this kumbaya. There'll be time for that. There'll be time for emotional vulnerability and things like that. And maybe I won't be on top of your head at that moment. But there's to be some also times when I might have to just be on top of your head, right? Because that's what you need in that moment,
That's
right?
what you need.
I know Paul the Apostle said, to all men, I'm all things, like whatever is necessary to win some. So, I could oscillate between the two, right? Be the therapist, but I could also be the coach. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for this week. We just flew by again for 45 minutes. Guys, aloha. We'll see you next week. Join us next week, 10:15 Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you next week.
Y'all take care. Have a great and blessed day. Also, shout out to Mr. Mika and also my brother-in-law, Jermaine. Appreciate y'all.
There you go. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, y'all take care. Bye.
Boop. Okay, let me